Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Spill the D. I'm Gina. I am your host, joined here with my awesome co-host, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing swell. I feel like nothing can stop me now.
Nothing can stop me now. Is that where you're going
I
with
saw
that?
a reel today with that audio on it, and it's been stuck in my head all day.
Do you think that that's worse than It's a Small World
Not even
after
close.
all?
Not even
No,
close.
Small World's worse?
Yeah, what Small World is way worse.
Oh my gosh, what a great segue into what we're talking about today. Today's episode is blank is not as bad as everyone says it is. Disney edition.
If Small World theme song being stuck in your head is on this list.
Oh, give you a little spoiler. Small World is on this list a few times.
Okay, the ride itself. You know what? We'll talk about it when we get to it.
So we actually posted on Instagram and said, tell us, fill in the blank. What is not as bad as everyone says it is? And the listeners did not disappoint. We have a great list here, and I was able to kind of sum them all up. So it's a perfect list. I think we'll be able to do it in one episode.
Yeah.
And then we'll follow this episode in a future week with blank is not as good as everyone says it is. So we'll go from positive to negative.
That's okay, though. I think the negative one is going to be really fun as well.
I do too, and I think it could end up being a pretty positive episode, because like if we're like, wait a minute, no, that is definitely as good as everyone says. So we'll have to see. But before we do that, we only got a little bit of news today. Not much on the Disney front after D23. If you want a buttload of Disney news, check out last week's episode. We did our full thoughts and opinions on everything Disney parks related happening at D23. For right now, I'm actually going to give you guys a piece of Universal news, because something that they're doing right now is really huge, where you get up to $1,000 dining card when you stay at Universal Orlando Resort.
That's a lot.
Yes. So in order to get this dining card promotional package, I'm kind of going to go over what's included in it for you, and then I'm going to direct you to where you need to go for more information. So you get up to $1,000 of food and beverage card, up to. So depending on what hotel tier you stay at, there's different stipulations that you can maybe get 300, maybe you get 1,000. You need 4+ nights of hotel accommodations. You're going to get early theme park entry with that as well. And then you'll get complimentary transportation to the theme parks. And in that package, you'll also get 2-park or 3-park, park-to-park vacation promo tickets for 4 or 5 days. So that's the big thing. You need the hotel, and you need the 2-park or 3-park, park-to-park vacation package promo tickets. Sounds like a lot. Don't worry. Call your 407 and Beyond travel agent. They will take care of this for you. They'll explain it all to you. Basically, though, what I'm saying is, by going to Universal and doing what you were going to do already, you can add on up to $1,000 of dining credit that can be used on alcohol.
That's a lot.
So
$1,000 is a lot of dining credit.
That's so much money. That's so amazing. So head on over 407 and Beyond's blog, which we have linked in the bio. There is a full article about this if you want more information on this, or just contact your 407 and Beyond travel agent. So if you don't already know, we are the official podcast of 407 and Beyond Vacation Co. They're a Disney and Universal Orlando travel agency that books and plans family vacations to Disney, Universal, Disney Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, Sandals, anything you can think of. It doesn't cost any extra to book with them. Their services are totally free. You sit back, relax. Their travel agents plan everything. And a very amazing thing that they're doing right now, I was able to look it over, was they made a full document for their clients of how lightning lanes work at Walt Disney World. And when you book with them, you get given that document, and your travel agent will sit down with you and go through it if you want. There are links to videos that they have made of here's how the new lightning lane multi-pass system works. So that is a special advantage that you get when you book with a 407 and Beyond vacation planner, or a 407 and Beyond travel agent. You get the vacation guide with a full lightning lane description.
Very helpful.
Very helpful. That's it. That's all we got.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some things that everyone says are bad, but we don't think they're quite as bad.
They're not that bad. Either we don't think it, or the listeners don't think it. We might think it.
All right. First things first. We've talked about it before. Some people might have this opinion. Some people I know don't have this opinion. But taking the buses is not as bad as people think it is.
I agree with this.
I know people who think this is a wrong opinion. It's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But I don't think taking the bus is as bad as people make it out to be. I think it's a great way to wind down at the end of the night. You don't have to drive. I mean, obviously there's other forms of transportation that are just as good, but you don't have to drive out of the park through all that traffic. You can just hop on a bus and just sit down and relax on your way home.
So I get what people are saying when they say the buses are annoying, though, because if you grew up only ever staying at the value resorts, especially before there was a Skyliner at some value resorts, like you
Yeah.
only ever took the buses, you don't know any different. The buses are great. They are free or complimentary transportation to get you from A to B at Walt Disney World. When you stay at somewhere like the All Stars, they are constantly coming
Hmm.
nonstop, and they can be crowded and you might have to stand, but like 10 to 15 minutes of standing for complimentary transportation, I'll take it.
Yeah.
However, where people say that the buses are annoying are the people who are normally on the monorail loop who are now have to take the bus somewhere because they're going to
Yeah.
a park that's not on the monorail loop. Maybe someone who's on the Skyliner loop who now has to take a bus somewhere that they don't want to have to deal with that. The Skyliner is so easy. And the other thing that people really hate about the buses compared to other transportation options is you have to break down your stroller,
Yeah.
which is enough to drive a parent mad. It could be the straw that broke the camel's back for them if they have an exhausting day and now they have to break down a stroller and
Yeah.
carry their sleeping kid. So there are advantages and there are reasons why people put the buses at the bottom of their list on the best
Hmm.
transportation. However, I do agree that it's really not that bad. I might eat these words one day when we have children and I have to break down a stroller.
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, I will say it's not that bad. We've done it with our nieces and nephews. And when you have enough people to help grab a kid, it's, again, really not too terrible. But it can be annoying when you have a million bags on the stroller and now you have to break it down and everyone has to grab their drink that they put on there and everyone has to grab this and that while you're trying to deal with your kid. It can be a lot.
Yeah. And you mentioned being on the monorail loop or the Skyliner. I don't even
Loop.
the Skyliner loop
Line.
Skyliner line.
Yeah.
Whatever. But personally, some of my favorite resorts are not on those, and I would rather take the bus and be able to stay at the resorts that I like rather than take a resort that's on the monorail loop per se, just because it's on the monorail loop.
For me personally, buses will never be a deal breaker for a resort
I don't think
if
so.
that's the only transportation. And if you're listening to this and you're trying to decide and you realize that the resort you're looking at is only buses, the only thing that I think might make that a deal breaker for you is the strollers.
Yeah.
The fact that you might have to stand, that could happen, but that could happen on the monorail or on a
Yeah.
boat or on, it won't happen on the Skyliner. You will have a
Yeah.
seat on the Skyliner. But that could happen there too. The fact that you might have to wait for it, that can happen with any of the other transportation systems. Buses are air conditioned. Not all the other transportation systems are
Yeah.
air conditioned. So if you're worried about your resort and you're like, oh no, the only transportation is a bus, literally the only thing I would worry about is the strollers.
Yeah, if you don't have a stroller, I think there's no reason to make that the reason you don't stay there.
Yeah. The only other time that the buses kind of stink compared to other options that are nonstop, like the Skyliner doesn't stop. The boats are pretty nonstop. Monorail, nonstop. The buses, like you have to count on a bus coming. And in the morning and at night when it's going to be the most crowded, that's actually when they have the most buses coming and you won't even realize that you're waiting for a bus
Yeah.
most of the time. If anything, like you have to wait for the next one and it's a minute behind the other one,
Yeah.
maybe two. They say 15, but it's always less. At least from our experience of many years and many, many trips.
Yeah, around park opening.
Yeah. The middle of the day is when it's rough. I've gone back in the middle of the day and it's been a long wait for the bus. But even then, 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. It's
Yeah.
not much worse than anywhere else. Like I said, if this is a deal breaker for you, the only thing I can think of that would really, really like hammer that nail is the strollers.
Yeah. And speaking of places that you can only access via bus.
We had a few different people say this one. So somebody said value resorts, just staying at a value resort in general. And more specifically, we had multiple people say the all-star resorts.
Yeah, because isn't Pop Century technically a value resort?
It is,
and that's
and
on
it's
the
now
Skyliner.
on the Skyliner.
So this is going to be value resorts minus Pop Century.
And Art of Animation.
Oh, right. Art of Animation is also...
So some people don't like value resorts in general, including Pop Century and Art of Animation. I agree. They're not that bad.
Yeah.
All-Stars, Pop Century, Art of Animation, but mainly I'm going to stick to the All-Stars here because that's the one that so many people submitted, and they said the All-Stars are not as bad as everyone says. First of all, I completely agree.
Yeah.
100% the All-Stars are not as bad as everyone says. The theming is fantastic. They've refurbished them all. They are all so clean. They are beautifully done. They can be a little far from things, but not any farther than Coronado or Animal
Yeah.
Kingdom much. It's really not that bad. They're nice and close to Animal Kingdom. You basically pull out of All-Stars and you're at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
And they are just perfect if you're the type of family or you're the type of travel party that just needs a bed
Yeah.
or just doesn't need much. It's so nice. It's affordable. It is not that badly priced. It's about as much as a hotel is going to be off property, maybe a little bit more, but you are going to get that complimentary transportation.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the early morning hours. You get 30 minutes in the morning. Like things like that are going to make that extra $20 a night maybe compared to the Marriott worth it.
Yeah.
It's just I love the All-Stars. I think that for what they are for, they are a value resort, and for what they are for, they are so great. And I don't see anything that I would label as bad about them. Like saying that they're not as bad as everyone says they are because they're not bad.
If you look at it objectively, this is my issue with people who say that the All-Stars are a problem. If you look at it objectively, cleanliness, the fact that they have beds and a nice shower, like that's all you really need out of a hotel room. When you get
great
down
food
to it.
options.
And all Disney hotels are super clean. Whether you're at the value resort, whether you're at a moderate or a deluxe resort, they're all super clean. They're all well furbished. They all have like really nice beds. They all have nice showers, nice bathroom areas, all that. So when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's a good hotel. It might have a little bit extra Disney stuff on the walls or
the rooms
like,
are a little
thrown about.
smaller.
Yeah, they're a little bit smaller, but like Gina said, if you're just the kind of people who need a bed, you're going to be at the park most of the day, even if you're coming back just to take a nap during the day. These are perfect.
Yeah. They really are.
Yeah.
Food options. It's not going to be fantastic food. There's no restaurants, but they have their quick service is the same idea as quick service
Mhm.
anywhere else. And actually, it's food court style, so it's a lot of variety.
Yeah.
So, great options. Okay, we have one more as far as resorts that someone submitted, and I do want to expand on it too.
Okay.
Because this one's kind of funny. So they said that the Caribbean Beach bus loop is not as bad as everyone says it is.
I have not heard anything about this before, so enlighten me.
Caribbean Beach, Coronado Springs, Saratoga Springs, Old Key West. These are some of the resorts across property that are so big that they have an internal bus loop.
Oh, okay. So not just specifically, what's it called?
Caribbean Beach.
Not just specifically Caribbean
So
Beach,
they
but all of the ones that have.
specifically-
Yeah, but
yeah.
they're referring to all of the ones that have a bus loop, pretty much.
They're referring to Caribbean Beach. I'm now referring to all of
Okay,
them.
gotcha.
So they're saying that it's not as bad as everyone says it is. So what an internal bus loop is, if anyone doesn't know, is when you are staying at a resort that is so big, there is a bus loop to get you maybe from your room to the main building. Or the bus loop might have to stop at 5 stops before it gets to your stop at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the morning on the way to the park. You might be the first stop. You're like, cool, no one on the bus.
Yeah.
There's still 5 more stops, and now you're at the park later than you thought you'd be. They're saying it's not as bad as everyone says it is. I'm trying to decide if I agree or not. The hard part is that back in the day, there used to be, and some resorts might still do this. The last two that we stayed at did not do this anymore. There used to be at Saratoga and Old Key West an internal bus loop of a bus that just drove in circles around the resort all day.
Mm-hmm.
Now they changed it, and you just have to follow the map of where the bus is going next. So if it says it's going to Magic Kingdom, you would see like, okay, so there's still 2 stops on property here at Old Key West to know when to get off, which makes more sense than paying someone to drive in circles when people can just get on and off like that.
Yeah.
They can be confusing, and time-wise, if you didn't know it was going to be a thing, you might think that you're on time for a reservation and then end up being late because the bus had 3 more stops than you planned. So
Yeah.
I'm actually going to say it might...
I don't know if I'm going to say it's as bad as everyone says it is, but I don't know if I want to undersell it to the point where I say that. If that makes sense. Like it's because it's not terrible, but it is a little inconvenient, and I don't want to assume anything, but I feel like this person hasn't been the person that wasn't able to get on the bus because it was full at stop 4 or 5.
Or didn't know.
Yeah.
that didn't know that the bus loop was a thing.
Because I didn't have an issue with it until we were on the bus loop and we weren't able to get on a bus because we were stopped 4 or 5 and the bus was already full.
During COVID, it just kept driving right past us.
Yeah.
And we were like, what is
and
going on?
that was when I really started to have an issue with the bus loops. Was when we became the people that weren't able to get on because the bus was full.
Yeah. No, it definitely can be an issue. Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to agree that it's not as bad as everyone says because it is irritating. And if you don't know about it, that's even more irritating if it takes you a few days to figure it out. I'm not going to agree or disagree on this one. I'm going to play devil's advocate because situationally, it can be as bad as everyone says it is.
Yeah.
Okay. On to the rides. Let's talk some rides and attractions.
Let's do it.
Mission Space Orange is not as bad as everyone says it is.
I'm assuming we're referring to the claustrophobia aspect of
I don't know. It could be the vomity aspect.
Yeah, claustrophobia, vomity, all that stuff. I didn't think it was that bad, personally.
Yeah, this one is definitely depending on the person.
Yeah.
I thought that I was going to think it was bad, and then I didn't. I thought I was going to have so many issues, and I didn't have any. I thought it would be motion sickness issues. Didn't know I was claustrophobic. I'm not, but all of a sudden I felt like I was. I thought I was going to throw up on myself. Like,
if you are claustrophobic or you do have motion sickness issues, this will be a problem for you.
And it's probably going to be as bad as everyone says it is.
Yeah, this will be a problem for you. But if you're a person who doesn't have either of those problems and you're fine on most rides, you'll probably be fine. Like, for example, I can't do spinny rides. I can't do teacups. I can't do those kind of rides. They make me sick. Mission Space, kind of behind the scenes spoiler here, it also just spins you in a circle as you're on the ride. Yeah, but I didn't get sick on it. So it's so situational per person, I feel like.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to agree that it's not as bad as everyone says it is, only because I don't think it's as bad as Disney says it is. Because the whole time you're in line, there are warning signs everywhere, to the point where by the time you get to the ride, you're like, this is it. This is how I go. And then you ride it and you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'm alive.
Yeah. Well, the issue is people with heart conditions have gone on before and had issues.
Well, no, the signs the whole way are like, if you get claustrophobic, it's for your motion sickness. Obviously, it says the heart condition part, but like from a motion sickness standpoint, you're like, oh, this is
but
it.
I feel like from Disney's perspective, it's just to cover themselves.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's not them trying to oversell how bad it is. It's just like, hey, just so you know, if you have a heart condition, claustrophobia, you're going to have issues on this ride. And I think if you have one of those issues, if you have a heart condition, if you have claustrophobia or motion sickness, there's a good chance you'll have an issue on this ride.
I would say so.
So
maybe
I don't know if I can say. Yeah, I don't know if this one is as clear cut. I think this one is kind of like the bus loop. I think it's situational.
All right. Sounds good to me. I can roll with that.
Okay.
Living with the land is not as bad as everyone says it is.
It's a nice break.
I feel attacked. It's me.
By multiple people.
I'm everyone.
Multiple people said living with the land isn't as bad.
They did. Oh, you like my little tallies of how people said it? Yeah, a few people said that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's bad necessarily. It's just not a priority for me as far as rides go.
I just get bored. So bored. We have plants at home.
Yeah, but they're not Mickey shaped.
We can make them Mickey shaped. The seats are uncomfortable. I don't get it because I'm not a plant person.
That's fair.
I like nature. I like vegetables. I like fruit. I don't need to go sit there and see it. But I
think the issue is we're thrill ride people. Is the problem.
No, because I love like Winnie the Pooh. I love Little Mermaid. I love Journey into Imagination, which is right next door.
Ride, but like we're like, I don't even know how you would.
I'm just not a plant person. I'm all for a nice little boat ride. I just don't care about.
Okay, well let's go through boat rides in Disney then, and we'll see if it's just the boat ride or if it's the plants.
Pirates.
Okay, how do you feel about that?
Love it.
How do you feel about Navi River Journey?
Plants, boring. It's just neon plants.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair. Because then my next one's gonna be the Three Caballeros.
Love it.
Okay. Okay. If you don't like plants, you're not gonna like living with the land.
I get bored of plants. If you like plants, then bottom. Sure, it's not as bad as everyone says. But it's me. I'm everyone. Everyone else says it's great. I just don't enjoy it.
If you don't like plants, don't go on it. I don't know what to tell you.
You did. You just
unless you're eating at Garden Grill, then that's fine.
Yeah, then you see it from
up
top.
You see it, and that's enough.
That's more than enough. Plenty for me. I would do like the behind the scenes tour, but also there's other tours I'd rather put my money to, even though that one's only like $20, but like 20 or 30.
There's a reason that it's as cheap as it is.
Plants. Welcome to our plant podcast. Today we're talking about orchids.
This is a watermelon shaped like Mickey.
I love when they do that. Like it's cool, but like I'm good.
I like the green room. Everything besides the green room I don't really need.
You know what I like when we're on it? I like seeing when there's a festival going on, what vegetables are in what booths.
Yeah.
Be like, I ate there today.
That's fair.
But again, I don't need to. It's just something to look forward to. But it's finding the silver lining if I end up on it with people who want to ride it. Because I will. If people want to ride it, I will do it. Mm-hmm. But yeah. All right. Next one. Now they're attacking Rick because the next group of people, again, many people said, It's a Small World is not as bad as everyone says it is.
Is this attacking me?
Yes, I think so. You're everyone. No, actually, a lot of people don't like It's a Small World.
Yeah, I don't hate the ride. I hate having the song stuck in my head afterwards.
I don't mind it. It's just happy Disney vibes.
It's an annoying song.
I'm an annoying person.
Like I like the ride for the most part. Like personally, I like the one in Disneyland Paris much better than the one in Disney World. But the ride itself isn't bad. It's the fact that I have to have the song in my head for the rest of the day.
You sound so bougie when you say that. Personally, Disneyland Paris was much better than Walt Disney World.
It was just newer and more updated.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely true.
But the ride itself, I don't think is as bad as people say it is. What is as bad as people say it is the wait for the ride, which I will not do.
It's usually like 15 minutes.
No, it's usually more than that over there.
Depends on what time of day. Middle of the day, it's usually pretty high because that's when all the kids are still there and it's something people want to go on. Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm fine as long as it doesn't break down. If it breaks down while I'm on it, then I'm like, oh my gosh. Then the song's
definitely in your head for the day.
But then again, you find the silver lining. You make jokes about it. You laugh about it. You sing It's a Small World with the person who's the most annoyed. It's so great.
See, but I'm the person who's most annoyed, so I'm not okay with it.
And I'm having a great time. So what's the consensus? We agree. It's a Small World's not as bad.
It's not as bad as people say it is.
No, it's not
if they said Small World music, then
the song
we might have a different conversation. But the ride itself is not as bad as people say it is.
So I've actually never heard this next one. Star Tours is not as bad as everyone says.
I don't know that I've heard anybody say it's bad.
No, everyone I know has ever talked about Star Tours has said that they've liked it.
I think the only thing I could think of would be potentially motion sickness, because I have gotten a little bit of motion sickness on this ride before. So that's the only thing I can think of as far as why people might say that it's not as good. But the ride itself, I think, is fantastic. I love that they decided to do all of the different storylines. I love that they're continually adding new storylines to the ride. I completely agree. If people are saying that it's bad, I completely agree that it's not as bad as everybody says it is.
I agree. I love the fact that the new storylines are being added as well. I agree with that. And ride-wise, it's pretty smooth. I know it used to be a little rockier than it is now, but either way, I think it's a pretty smooth ride. And it's even if you're not a Star Wars fan, it's entertaining.
Yeah, I agree.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. While we're in that area, someone did say the Muppet Show. Again, I've actually never heard people say that they didn't like this ride or didn't like this attraction. I've heard people talk really highly of it. It's me, I'm people. But I can't think of anyone that has ever been like, I don't like that, I'm not going on it. Like anyone is, maybe people be like, I'm not gonna, there's other things I'd rather do, but I've never heard someone call this bad. So I agree, it's not as bad as everyone says it is.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard anyone really say that. If someone has told you that it's not good, maybe don't be friends with them anymore.
Yeah, they might not have a good enough sense of humor.
Because it's a fantastic attraction.
Mm-hmm. Featuring a glorious 3-hour finale.
You got a minute and a half. Yeah, I haven't heard that. So I disagree. I agree. It's not as bad as everybody says it is.
Muppets, not as bad.
Yeah.
Please, please, Disney, don't take it away. It just won't make sense.
Well, next one, no one really has to worry about anymore. It's tough to be a bug. Not as bad as everybody says it is. The haters of it's tough to be a bug no longer have to worry about it.
No, but I can. You know what? This one, I love It's Tough to Be a Bug. It's one of my favorite things to do in Animal Kingdom, which is really saying something because I love Animal Kingdom. I can see how people don't love this one though. It can be a little bit intense, especially if you don't like bugs.
Yeah, if you're not a bug person, then definitely.
Like, if you have a fear of spiders, this is not the place to be.
Yeah.
So, and for little kids, oh no. So I would say that this one is, again, like kind of situational. It definitely can be as bad as everyone says, but if you don't have an issue with bugs and you have kind of a goofy sense of humor where bugs jokes makes you laugh, it's a good spot to be.
I like the ride. I'm excited for the reboot.
The change to Zootopia.
Yeah. And not even just because I love Zootopia. Just in general, I feel like it's one of those ones that is kind of outdated and is ready for a change.
I guess that's fair. I know, I agree. We did talk about this last week.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good change, but I'm going to miss it. Did you know this is one of Bruce's favorite attractions?
I did not know that.
When he went on it with us, I thought that he was just coming because he just wanted to hang out, and then he told me, he was like, no, I love this one. I wanted to be here for this. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I thought you were just along for the ride, and this is where we decided we were going. He was like, no, I wanted this.
That's really funny.
Mm-hmm. Really, it surprised me. But then I thought about the kind of humor and stuff to be a bug, and I was like, wait a minute. That might check out. Okay, I think that's all we have for attractions.
Not bad.
Not bad. Let's move on to food.
Ooh.
Food and beverage. We'll start with a big one. Somebody said that they don't think making dining reservations is as bad as everyone says.
I don't make dining reservations. That's what Gina's for. So, go ahead.
All right, making your dining reservations. If you're new here, if you've never been to Disney World, you've never made dining reservations, you have to make them 60 days out, and they open at 6 a.m. Eastern time. Now, the hard part about that, as someone on the East Coast, we're like, okay, 6 a.m., we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Might be 5 a.m. for you. Might be 4 a.m. for you. Might be 3 a.m. for you.
Yeah.
That sounds rough. But you know what? You can make them, and then you can go right back to bed. When you make these dining reservations, you get to make them for the entire length of your stay if you're staying on Walt Disney World property, which is a huge advantage that you can have. So if you're staying on Walt Disney World property, that 60-day mark, you can make it for 70 days out. And you can get a really hard-to-get dining reservation, which is kind of a little trick to make it so that it's not as bad as everyone says. Another little trick. 407 and Beyond travel agents, they will do this for you. You give them your list of this is where I want to eat. They're going to make it happen.
If they got to get up at 3 a.m. to do it, they'll do it.
Yes, they will. They will. Dining reservations they can be hard to get, especially if you want a more popular restaurant. Mm-hmm. But just leave it to your 407 agent, or be up, be ready, 5:45. Be up on 15 minutes early, start refreshing the page when you can. I'm not saying hit it for 15 minutes straight, but every once in a while click it and like pop up a little early. Get the dining reservations that you want for your group. Make it happen. You're going to crush this. I believe in you. It's not going to be as bad as everyone says. So yes, I completely agree. Making dining reservations is not as bad. The other thing to keep in mind, it is not the end of the world if you don't get one. If you had somewhere you were planning your trip around going, first of all, why? I guess if you really want a certain restaurant, but
Tony's?
Yeah?
I would go to Disney just for Tony's.
If you have somewhere that is like make or break for your vacation, do not cancel your vacation. Do not give up. People drop dining reservations all the time. There are websites that you can go and they'll send you alerts. You can just keep randomly checking it. People will cancel up until 2 hours beforehand because that's when you start to get charged. Even after, people will cancel. Or you can join a walk-up wait list sometimes. Yeah. But up until 2 hours before, you can cancel free of charge. After the 2 hours before your reservation, when you're in that window, it's $10 per person if you don't show up. But people will cancel, so that means all day you can just randomly go on and look and see if anything opened up, get that dining reservation, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. It'll be okay. And if you don't get it, your 407 agent can get it for you. They will do everything in their
You're trying
power.
to get it for
Yeah,
you.
they will do everything in their magic travel agent powers to get you that reservation. So no, it is not as bad as everyone says. Just don't let it make or break your vacation. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Next one. Not as bad as everybody says it is. Turkey legs.
It's not.
I
It's edible.
like the flavor.
Tastes like ham.
I do not like the bones, and I think that's the main issue that I have with them.
The bone or like the ligaments?
The ligaments,
and tendons.
yeah, all that stuff that's in it. So I think I'm gonna have to disagree on this one. I think if it was just a solid piece of turkey, tastes like ham. Well, so that's why we're doing the air quotes on turkey.
If you're watching on
if you're watching on YouTube, I did air quotes on turkey.
They say it's ostrich.
That's very interesting.
Not Disney. Disney doesn't say that.
I was gonna say because that sounds expensive.
That's just a rumor. It's not true, but
I think I'm gonna have to disagree with this one because it's just really annoying working around all the ligaments and tendons and stuff.
So you think it is as bad as everyone says?
Yeah, I just think it's not worth it.
I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it is. It tastes like ham, which is kind of weird. It's not like a normal turkey taste, but like flavor-wise, it's really not bad. It's a lot of food for a good amount of money, and if you're willing to sit there and dig through the ligaments and tendons and really gnaw up that piece of meat, you'll be set. All right. Beverly. Beverly is not as bad as everyone says, according to our listeners. No, you've never had Beverly.
I have not.
No. Beverly is the soda you can sample from Italy in Club Cool.
Okay.
It's more like a palate cleanser. It kind of tastes like Static. Picture like a
seltzer
White
water?
Claw with no flavor.
So seltzer water.
A little bit, but it like has this weird like kind of acidy
Club
aftertaste. It's weird. It's really strange. We'll try it next time we're there.
Okay, it sounds terrible.
I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's not like, oh my gosh, I need to spit this out and throw it up right now, but it is really fun to get people's reactions when they've never had it and you make them drink it.
Okay.
Especially if you tell them it's like Sprite because it looks like Sprite. If you're like, oh yeah, try the Italian Sprite.
Italian Sprite.
And then
just seltzer water. It's
absolute
gross.
garbage.
It's
No,
so
it's
mean.
not. You're calling it. It's not seltzer water. Stop calling it that.
It sounds like seltzer
You've
water.
called it
though.
that like 5 years.
I know because that's how you're describing it. Seltzer water.
No,
Okay.
it has more flavor to it,
Okay.
but kind of acidy flavor. It's not good.
That doesn't sound good.
No, like battery acid.
I've never tasted battery acid.
Like
but that doesn't
Italian
sound
battery
appetizing.
acid. Don't taste. People, if you're listening, do not taste battery acid.
Yeah, it doesn't taste.
Small
like
children
gab-
who are listening,
It
do
doesn't-
not do that.
It does not taste like gabagool.
Okay. On to the next one. We have one more food one. Cosmic rays.
I love Cosmic Rays.
It's not as bad as everyone says it is.
I completely agree with this one. I love Cosmic Rays. It's one of my favorite spots.
Cosmic rays, if you were at the like prime lunch and prime dinner time, can be pretty crowded.
Yeah.
Mobile order. You'll save a lot of time and a lot of headaches. But it's really not that bad.
As far as generic food goes, it's one of my favorite spots to get it.
Yes, it is definitely like
It's-
basic
Yeah,
theme park
chicken
food.
tenders,
Yeah.
burgers, stuff like that. But I think as far as that stuff goes, I think they're the best. And they have the bar of like toppings. Or not like toppings, like sauces and stuff that you can
Mhm.
get. They used to have toppings, which
Yeah,
they don't.
they
They
got
don't
rid of the
have them
toppings
anymore,
bar.
unfortunately. But I think the food there is I mean, like I said, it's basic food. It's burgers and chicken fingers and stuff like that, but it's good.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. I think it's good. Kids' meals are good. I think you need somewhere like that with the
You
really
do.
basic options. When I think about when we went with two of our friends, one of them was not the most adventurous eater to the point where we got Casey's Corner and that was too wild for him.
Yeah.
So he went and got chicken fingers at Cosmic Rays and then we met him. Like that was
Yeah.
just the easiest way to do it. So I agree. It's really not as bad as everyone says it is. It's not going to be the best food you're going to find. Disney
No.
has some amazing food, and Cosmic Rays is really simple. Although they do try and do some fun foods, like they'll try and do some funky burgers with mac and cheese on them, and
Yeah.
different combinations of foods. But no, it's not going to be anything crazy. But it's going to get the job done, and it's going to be a great spot if you need if you have a picky eater and need somewhere nice and simple.
Yeah.
Or if you just want some good theme park junk. Sometimes I just want some theme park, some Walt Disney World chicken nuggets.
Sometimes you just need chicken tenders.
You do,
Sometimes
and
you just need them.
it's gonna be the place to get them.
Yeah.
And you sit there and eat them. You have a nice view of the castle while you eat them. If you get the right table, it's
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's not as bad as everyone says it is. Again, if you go prime time, it can be pretty crowded.
Yeah.
Or if you go when it's raining. Weather gets bad,
Yeah.
it can get really crowded in there. So
raining.
just watch what times you're going and mobile order instead of waiting in line, and you'll be full. You'll be totally set.
Yep.
All right, that was it for food. We have 4 more for you guys, okay?
Let's do it.
Okay. I don't know where to start because the next 4 are all pretty intense.
Yeah. I mean, let's just go in order, I guess.
All right. I kind of want to save that one for last, actually. We'll start there.
Okay.
So we'll send in by a few people. Summer at Walt Disney World.
The heat is not bad. The crowds are bad.
Yes. We had a few people send this one in, and all of them did kind of talk about the heat a little bit. And I want to say, if you listened to our episode a few weeks ago, we talked about each month, the pros and cons of going in that month.
Yeah.
To like kind of help you decide what month would be the right time of year to go for you. And we did really emphasize the heat because for some people the heat can make a big difference, and we really emphasized the weather. When we were doing that, we were emphasizing that for the sake of you understanding how hot it could be, not to tell you that it's a total deal breaker for us.
Yeah.
The heat in Florida, if you're okay with it, can be definitely bearable. Like, I agree. It's not as bad as everyone says it is. Now, I do think the crowds in July can be pretty unbearable depending on when you go. I happened to go on a weekend in July and thought it was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made between the heat and the crowds.
Yeah.
But we go in August yearly just about at this point and have no issues. The heat, it's a lot, but like you know that going in, so it's really fine. And crowd wise, the crowds are pretty low. So I'm gonna have to say going in the summer, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. And as long as you're mentally prepared for the heat and physically prepared, if you bring the cooling towels, you bring the fan, you stay hydrated.
Drink water,
It's really it isn't that bad. It is bearable. But
that's the big thing in my opinion is staying hydrated. I feel like a lot of people will just drink like Coke and coffee and stuff like that, and it's like if you just stay hydrated with some Powerade, some water while you're there, like it's way more bearable if you're hydrated as opposed to if you're dehydrated.
Yeah, 100%. Your mood will be a lot better.
Yeah. But I completely agree. The crowds are the worst part about the summer. I have no issue with heat, mostly because I work outside in the heat all day, every day. So I don't really have an issue with it. But the crowds, I definitely have an issue with because I don't like being that close to people.
But even like the crowds at their most, like it's still not as bad as if you go at like Christmas time. Like it's still not as bad as if you go at spring break sometimes. Middle of July can be a little crowded, but yeah, it's not as bad as everyone says. And these people that sent this in, all of them mentioned the heat. I just wanted to clarify that like a few weeks ago when we talked about the heat, like we weren't saying it's completely like you're not gonna explode from the inside out.
Don't go.
But if you can't handle the heat, maybe you have a medical condition where you can't. We just want to make sure you understood that.
Yeah.
That like it is hot. It is over 100 degrees on a normal July day.
Yeah.
Or at least the real feel is.
Yeah.
Next 2. These are both parks. So we'll do you first. Somebody literally said word for word, Epcot. Looking at you, Rick.
Okay.
Epcot is not as bad as everyone says.
I feel as though my feelings toward Epcot have been misinterpreted. I don't think Epcot is a bad park. My main issue with Epcot is that you pay $100 and whatever to get into the park. And half of the park that you plan on doing after that, and what I mean by that is the World Showcase, you have to pay more money to be able to experience and enjoy that part of the park. Well, and it's the only park where you have that.
There are free things in the World Showcase.
There are free things in the World Showcase, but people go to the World Showcase for the food and the drinks.
To experience
You already paid $150 to get into the park. Now, I have to pay $8 for a 8-ounce beer to enjoy it around the park. That's my issue with Epcot, is the fact that it's the only one of the 4 parks where you pay to get in, and then you have to pay just as much, if not more, to do what half of the park is asking you to do.
Okay, I have a question for you.
What?
So we do clarify every time. It's just becoming a funny joke on the podcast that Rick does like Epcot. It's just not as much as the other parks. Let's take the 4 Disney parks and put in the 2 Universal parks. Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios. Where is Epcot when you add those 2 in?
Still last.
Okay. I was just curious.
It's still last because I very much enjoy the Universal parks. I went to them growing up, and I'm a movie person. I like watching movies, and that's what a lot of Universal is.
As opposed to Disney.
Yeah, why? And I know that it's expensive to go to Universal as well. Again, I don't hate Epcot. I like Epcot, especially now that they have Guardians. Guardians was a huge plus for me as far as Epcot is concerned. I don't know. I just
Epcot's not as bad as everyone says it is. And one spot where I really want to emphasize this. First of all, most people don't say Epcot's bad. It's just Rick.
It's just one time I said I'm not a big fan of Epcot.
One time he worded it wrong and we haven't let him live it down. Just to clarify, it's also my number 4 park. It's just fun to make fun of Rick. And shout out to the listener who sent this in because I need you to know I was cackling. It had me laughing so hard because it's so funny how it has escalated into Rick hates Epcot. I think we should do Spillity merch with a shirt that says Rick hates Epcot. I'd buy it. So, where was I going with that? Oh, Epcot. People will tell you not to take your kids to Epcot. I think Epcot is one of the best parks for kids.
They do have a lot of stuff, especially with the Moana section now.
Yes, they have the Moana section. A lot of the rides that they have, kids can do. They have the Finding Nemo ride. They have Journey into Imagination. They have Frozen, the 3 Caballeros. They have a full play area in Mission Space, like a little playground. They have multiple playground areas as well. They have Kid Cot for when you're eating and drinking around the World Showcase. They can be doing arts and crafts around the World Showcase completely for free. Like, there is a lot to do for kids. Oh, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Yeah, like, it's one of the best parks to meet princesses because the princesses are all around the World Showcase. Like, there is so much to do at Epcot for kids. It's one of the best parks. And that's where I'm going to emphasize that it is not as bad as everyone says. People will tell you to skip Epcot if you have little kids. Don't. Take them to Epcot. Yeah. It's probably going to be one of their favorite parks and one of their favorite memories from the entire vacation.
Yeah, if they're like not a baby, most of the first half of the park they'll be able to do something. They'll be able to do stuff at.
I think the entire park they can, because I just said all of the Kit Kat stuff too.
Well, like depending on how tall they are, they might not be able to do like soaring and stuff, but they'll be able to do, like you said, Space Mountain, not Space Mountain.
The only thing your kids won't be able to do in Epcot is Guardians of the Galaxy, Soarin',
Test Track,
Mission Space. Anything else
they should be
that I can think of off the top of my dome right now, they can get on.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think. Like, there are some parks where there are way more rides than that they can't get on. So, like,
yeah. And even if they're tall enough, they might even be able to do Soarin'. So that cuts out another one that they might not even be able to do.
I mean, our niece was 4 and rode Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, she's tall. Don't get me wrong. She's tall. but still.
Yeah.
Like, there's way more to do than you think.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is not as bad as everyone says.
Been through this conversation a million times, I feel like, at this point. It's not as bad as people say it is.
Animal Kingdom is absolutely amazing. It is beautiful. It is the best theme park. There is so much to do. I will die on this hill. Animal Kingdom has some of the best rides. Not many rides, but the rides they have are amazing. There are so many spots to just walk around and enjoy the scenery and see animals and learn about the animals. And there's an animation studio where you can go learn to draw and then learn how they give a CAT scan to an ostrich. Like, there's just so...
Yeah. It's a very informational park as opposed to the other ones that are ride focused. This one is very informational. It's very focused on the detail. Like, everywhere you look, there's a detail. Yeah, there's a detail for something. Like, whether it's the smallest detail or a big detail, it's there. And
it's the best theme park.
Yeah,
themed park.
Yeah, the best themed park.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's not as bad as people say it is. It's my second favorite park. So.
There's live entertainment everywhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's DJs, dancers, there's amazing shows.
Yeah, they do that little show in Pandora.
Yeah. They do, and then they do them in Africa. They have DJs over in Dino Land. Like, they have something everywhere, and it's just nonstop all day. Like the hype is there all day, and I
Yeah.
think when the hype's not there, it's because you're just strolling and just taking it all in and enjoying it. And I think it has some of the best food.
Yeah.
Food wise, the food at Animal Kingdom is amazing. There are bars everywhere. The drinks at Animal Kingdom are amazing.
Mhm.
I'm a huge advocate for Animal Kingdom.
Uh-huh.
I really am. And when
I
people
think
say Epcot's the best food park, I'm like, you haven't eaten enough at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, I think the main issue with Animal Kingdom for a lot of people is how spread out it is, makes it feel like there's not a lot going on. Because like if you go to like Magic Kingdom, it's like ride, 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 ride. Whereas Animal Kingdom is like ride, walk a little bit, ride, walk a little bit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
there's just as not just as much to do, but there's plenty to do
Mhm.
at Animal Kingdom for the day.
I can't wait to go to Disneyland with you because people who are used to Disneyland always complain that Magic Kingdom's rides are too far apart.
Really?
Disneyland is like you just like walk right to the next one.
Huh.
It's all like shoved into a nice small area.
Interesting.
We're
I'm
in-
excited. I'm so excited to go to California.
So the countdown is on, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we have one more. Although I think we both agree that Animal Kingdom is not as bad as everyone
Yes,
says.
I agree.
And I think this one's going to be a hot topic. So we'll end on it. The price is not as bad as everyone says.
Depends when you're going.
Depends when you're going, and I think it depends on how you do it. I think there are affordable ways to do Disney, and there are expensive ways to do Disney. For
Yeah.
instance, at any given time of year, we'll say the All Stars could be $150 a night. Yacht Club is $700 a night. So if you're choosing to stay in a deluxe resort rather than a value resort,
Yeah.
your price is going to be insane compared to someone else's vacation. Other options, sometimes they do ticket deals. They've been doing that summer ticket the last 2 years where it starts at $99 per day. Is that pricey for a theme park? Yes, compared to other ones, but also like you get a lot more with it than other parks would have, in my opinion. I think you get a lot more out of Disney than you do, like, say, Six Flags. So there is that as well. Food-wise, I'm going to completely agree that it's not as bad as everyone says it is because I went to King's Dominion a few months back, which is they are owned by Dorney Park and what's the name of the company? I can't think of the company that owns them all. But the other one they own is Dorney Park, if that helps anyone with understanding it. And we got chicken tenders and fries, and I think it was like $19.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was something crazier, like $17 and change and tax and everything. And that's like 13 at Disney, 12 at Disney for chicken tenders and fries. So like, and they offer kids meals, and not a lot of amusement parks offer kids meals, but Disney as a theme park does. So like, there are ways again to make it more affordable, and like food wise, like I do think it can be a little bit cheaper than some other amusement parks. I really do. I think that there are some things that they're doing better, but I do think that there are ways to make Disney very expensive. And that, like you said,
but as with anything else.
Yeah, but like you said, also the time of year that can be expensive, and it can add up really quick. The price for 2 people to go is way different than the price for 6 people to go.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at the final cost of a vacation. Yeah. So I can understand why a bigger family might look at it and be like, this is too expensive. We can't afford this. Where maybe a single adult is like, oh, I'm on my 5th trip this year.
Yeah.
Because their 5th trip costs as much as that family of 6 is one trip.
Yeah.
So I get it. What do you think? If you had to decide, is it as bad as everyone says?
I feel indifferent about this one again because, like I said, the time of year that you go is huge. Like you said, though, the food and the drinks and stuff.
Not drinks. Alcohol is expensive at Disney.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I think, like, I forget if we talked about it on the podcast or not before, but the price for food and alcohol at Citizens Bank Park or Lincoln Financial Field, which are the Eagles and Phillies stadiums in Philadelphia, are the same, if not more. Yeah. Like, the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field have the most expensive beer in all of the NFL. It's like $18 for like a 16-ounce beer. It's insane. So like I think it all depends on where you're at too, as far as how the price feels to you.
I agree with that.
If you live in the middle of nowhere where say $50,000 is comfortable living, as opposed to someone who lives in New York where you need $100,000 to live comfortably, the money's going to feel way different.
Oh yeah.
So I think that plays a huge role in it too. Personally, I don't think the price is as bad most of the time. Like I said, there's an exception for holidays and certain times of year and stuff like that. But if you go during like the downtime during the year, I think around $100 to $120 is completely reasonable. I think you get a lot out of that money.
Okay, I think my decision is that I'm gonna say that it's not as bad as everyone says, only because I feel like when I hear people complaining to me about the price, it tends to be the people who didn't do any research, wanted to stay bougie, wanted to go deluxe, didn't want to do any research into how to get deluxe cheaper or anything like that. Didn't call a travel agent. We tell you all the time, 407 can make it cheaper for you. We're not playing around. They know how to find the deals for you. I think it's always those people who just didn't care to figure it out, that
That's
just
fair.
want to complain. And they're like, it's expensive. It's too expensive. And that's where I'm going to argue that, okay, well, it's not as bad as you say it is. You could have made it cheaper. You chose not to. Can it definitely add up quick for anyone? Yes. And is
Yeah.
it expensive? Yes. It's a luxury. It is not a necessity. It's a luxury thing. It's a
Yeah.
luxury vacation. That's not going to be cheap. And we understand that. Do I want it to be cheaper? Absolutely. Is it? No.
Yeah.
But so that's where I'm like, you knew going in it was a luxury, so I'm gonna agree. It's not as bad, but I'm only agreeing because I think the people who are the ones complaining about the prices are the ones who weren't looking for ways to make it more affordable, and then they come home and they're like, "Oh my god!" If
Yeah.
you wanted to put the effort in and make it affordable, make it doable for you, you would have, even if that means waiting a few more years ago, or
Mhm.
you know what I mean. Like I don't. I've had the people complain to me who I know didn't do the research or who didn't listen to me when I said, "Oh, well, what about this?" No. Okay.
It's gonna be expensive then.
You can pack snacks, right? You can bring food and drink into Disney. No, we'll just buy it, and then they come home and they say how expensive it was. Well, I told you could have packed fruit snacks. Well, it wasn't going to save
Fruit
you that
snacks
much
don't
money.
fill everybody. Okay.
It wasn't going to save you that much money, but it might have held you off of having to buy another Rice Krispie treat when you could have packed your own Rice Krispie treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know what I mean. Didn't have to stay deluxe. Could have stayed value.
Yeah.
Rent DVC points. There are so many ways, guys.
Mm-hmm. Do the research.
Call your 407 agent. Listen to Spill the D.
Yeah.
Message us if you have questions. I love telling people how to save money at Disney. That is like one of my pastimes. Like that is like when
One of
someone's
her
like,
hobbies.
it is. Someone's like, I'm going to Disney, and I'm like, you know what you can do to save money, and I just start spitting it out. I'm like, I have this and this and this and fruit snacks and this and this. Can't stop, won't stop. Except now we're gonna stop.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like what you heard, please go ahead and give us those stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We've been getting more reviews, and I'm very grateful for you guys for it. The more stars, the merrier. Please, 5 stars are nothing. Give us all 5. We love it. Leave us a review if you're on Apple Podcasts. Also, you can now comment if you're listening on Spotify.
Yeah.
You can leave a comment on there, and we can go ahead and respond to you. So go ahead and leave us a comment. Anything you want from this episode. If you disagree with us, let us know in the comment. That's really fun.
You can also now comment on like videos and stuff on Instagram, right?
Oh, you've been able to do that, like
Oh,
leave little
really?
messes. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you've been able
Yeah,
to
no,
do
you've
that.
been able to do
I'm
that
a little
one.
behind on the Instagram, but if you want to follow us on Instagram, go ahead and do that at Spill the D Podcast, right?
Mhm.
I think that's the only social media really. Or TikTok at Spill the D Podcast as well. If you really want to, you can email us at spillthedpod@gmail.com. I don't really know if that's something that people do anymore.
Oh my God, you say it every time. It's a thing. I check the email. You can email
Do people
us.
email us?
Sometimes.
Huh.
We've gotten like 5.
It's a lot.
Haven't gotten
Keep
nearly,
sending those emails.
haven't gotten nearly any emails as we have DMs and stuff, but it's fun.
That's funny. But yeah, go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, send us an email. But until next time, we will
See you at the castle.